Why am I so interested in historically black colleges and universities? I'll tell you. For one, I'm not an idiot. If you're still really committed to being a racist in this country, things are about to turn really brown for you.
Welcome, amazing viewer, to another episode of TikTok videos. I love the American accent, and mine can't get any better than this. Leave your thoughts in the comment section. I'm so excited to share this video with you, and stay tuned. And also remember to subscribe and turn on the notification bell so that you get notified whenever we have a new video. I appreciate your time. Thank you so much.
I've said it before, and I'll say it again. I think these schools are some of the crown jewels of the American college education system.
So why did you choose to go to an HBCU?
To surround myself with people that have the same kind of mindset as me, to learn from black professors.
I chose to go to the HBCU for the networking experience, not gonna lie.
Since being here, I honestly feel like I've created a new part of myself that I never even knew that I had.
Now, Morris Brown was founded in 1881 by some black Americans and the African Methodist Episcopal Church. It's the oldest school in Georgia to be owned and operated by black Americans. Now I want to stop and give a shout out to the AME, or African Methodist Episcopal Church. I did not know this until recently, but they are a massive powerhouse in getting these colleges started. They have done so much for our college education system, and nobody knows about it. Now, don't let the disrepair you see fool you, because this college still puts out just a little less than 100 graduates a year that are going on with their degrees and doing good in America. Now, about 20 years ago, the man, the myth, the legend, Tom Joyner, tried to buy this university to save it. He couldn't, but his foundation still donated $1 million to help keep it going. Shout out to you, Tom Joyner. I've run into several Morris Brown alum here in Atlanta, and I'm really fascinated about how the strength of community Morris Brown College has in Atlanta. From what I understand, when they turn up, they turn up. Yeah, Q-Dogs. They're everywhere. You know, as a side note, when I came up here to first start shooting this video yesterday, a friend of mine met me up here. She runs the site Historically Black Sense on both Instagram and TikTok. She's an HBCU alum, and she really promotes all things HBCU related. So we walked around the campus and talked for a few hours. I just had the most fascinating conversation that I got to learn about history and just walk and talk with an HBCU alum, and it changed the entire energy of what I'm doing. So please, if you like this type of content and you support HBCUs, absolutely go check her page out. She has tons and tons of great content on there. Now, one of the cool features I love about these HBCUs is their Greek and fraternity plots. The Divine Nine all have representation here. Now, Morris Brown offers several different degree choices, but they focus a lot on management, entrepreneurship, and technology. I love the entrepreneurship degree they do because that fascinates me. That's how graduates go out in the world, start their own business, and change America. Now, people are confused. They think Morris Brown College is no longer open. It absolutely is. They got their accreditation back last year, and they're going strong. This is a beautiful plot of land in Atlanta. I mean, this is a gorgeous campus. And I think it's sad that our government community has failed to invest in this school. It's a hidden gem. I find it absolutely gorgeous here. So yes, Morris Brown is still open. They're still doing good things. And if you're in Atlanta, I encourage you to come by and see them. I think Morris Brown College is such a tiny but powerful little bomb. It's hard to understand and feel its energy and respect its history until you step on campus. I don't think there's any other way. So I'd encourage you in Atlanta, take the 2 minutes it takes to walk around this campus, or drive by with respect and appreciation, because your police chief has come from here, and so has the sheriff of DeKalb County. So yeah, you might want to be nice to those MBC alums. If you watch any of my videos, you know that I love telling history stories. And as I researched so many of these men and women, the common thread I found is that most all of them went to HBCUs. So I started digging a little deeper on their college journeys, and then this led me to more colleges, and then crossed over with more colleges, because a lot of these men and women stay within the HBCU system to help it out, to teach other students as they come up. And that led me to discover the sense of pride in the historically black college and university community. Then I discovered the Divine Nine and HBCU bands. Ooh, doggy, I might have bit off more than I could chew. Keeping it real with you, there is so much beauty in the struggle that these schools have had to go through from the 1800s forward. They started with no money. I mean, Booker T. Washington, when he started Tuskegee, his first group of students, they had a few outsheds, little buildings, not classrooms. Those students actually built the school while they were getting their degree there. And that was part of Booker T. Washington's philosophy about working and getting a hands-on education. Worked out pretty well, and I get to go to Tuskegee next week. I'm so freaking excited. These schools have been open to all races since they opened, unlike their white counterparts. They're underdogs, and I love to root for an underdog. And I'm really drawn to the sense of school pride, especially in their Greek sororities and fraternities, their bands, the way the alumni and the community stick together. I notice there's a lot of groups on Instagram and TikTok for school alumni and then groups of alumni. And then you have the Panhellenic Council, which is kind of the governing council of the Divine Nine. And I realized there's just an entire universe I didn't know anything about. And it really pisses me off. These schools have to beg for money from the federal government. The government just announced we made a $6 billion clerical error with giving aid to Ukraine. I want a congressman or senator to step up and give $500 million a one-time grant to all the HBCUs. Split it up. They've been so overlooked. And they still have these amazing, beautiful campuses. They have some of the happiest graduates. It's hard to explain. It's just, I made a video about the history, and I was blown away by it. And I came home Memorial Day weekend. I looked at my girl and said, "Do you want to go see some campuses?" And she said she saw that little glimmer in my eye, that little mischievous spark. And she goes, "Okay, let's do it." And off we went. And now that I've been to several campuses, I got to see all of them. I've not been able to find anyone who's visited all the campuses. So I want to be the first. I mean, the irony is that I have blue eyes, but that's besides the point. I just want more people to see what I see in these schools. And I'm so excited to come see them.
A historically black college you've never heard of because in the 1800s, Yale ensured it never saw the light of day. Many know that the first historically black college in the U.S., Cheyney University, was established in 1837 just outside Philadelphia. But it wasn't supposed to be the first. An earlier college was said to be built on land purchased in New Haven, Connecticut. Here's what happened. The 1830s marked the beginning of the organized abolitionist movement. During this time, free and self-emancipated black people came together via conventions to strategize how they might achieve educational, labor, and legal justice. At the 1831 annual convention of the people of color, black community leaders were joined by a trio of white abolitionists, namely Simeon Jocelyn, Arthur Tappan Esquire, and William Lloyd Garrison, who proposed the construction of a Negro college. This institution would be the first of its kind to offer liberal arts and science education for black men. It was to be equally funded by blacks and whites and led by 7 trustees, 3 white and 4 black. The trio chose New Haven because they believed its citizens to be friendly, pious, generous, and humane. But soon, New Haven showed its true colors. After Jocelyn publicly shared his vision for the institution on September 7, 1831, within days, Yale grad and Mayor Dennis Kimberly assembled a 13-member committee of mostly Yale leaders and prominent alumni to speak out and draft resolutions against what he called a scheme. He hosted a community meeting on September 10th, and they voted on the resolution 700-4 to block the school, calling it destructive of the best interests of the city. 2 of the men on the anti-black college committee, Samuel Hitchcock and David Daggett, are still honored today on Yale's School of Law shield.
I believe historically black colleges and universities are the crown jewels of the American college education system. Don't believe me? Let's find out. Now I'm about to do something I've never done before, but before I do that, now what am I talking about? Every single video I've ever done, I've done completely from memory. For the first time ever, I'm going to use a list because I really want to get these numbers right about the historically black colleges in America. Okay, are you ready? There's over 100 of them, 4 medical schools, which is crazy. The first one, I'm doing this still from memory, is in Cheyney, Pennsylvania, the longest school, and that was founded in 1837, almost 200 years ago. Now, to be defined as an HBCU, they had to exist prior to the Civil Rights Act, and their main focus had to be the further education of black American students. Okay, so now we know the definitions. Let me just tell you a little bit about what's going on in the world that came out of these historically black colleges. 85% of black doctors came from there. And by the way, I'm going to skip the word black because it's going to get repetitive. 80% of federal judges, 75% of PhDs, 75% of military officers, 75% of veterinarians, 50% of pharmacists, 50% of attorneys, 45% of business executives, 40% dentists, 50% engineers. Historically black colleges only make up about 3% of the college population, but they have as students about 10% of black Americans, but yet still put out 20% of all black college graduates who are black Americans. Again, I'm pretty good at math, and even I know you only have 10% of the students, but you put out 20% of the graduates. That's a 2-to-1 ratio. That is freaking fantastic. These schools are amazing, and I think one of the reasons they're so good is because they're such lean, mean operations. Not because they want to be, because society has forced them to be. Yes, white America and our government has turned a blind eye and shunned these colleges.
So let's talk about white people in black spaces. The other day I posted a video about my experience attending an HBCU, Tennessee State University, and how it was really an important part of my education to regularly be the only white person in a room. And someone in my comments asked me to talk more about that, and I could say so much about that. But I think this is a good place to start. One day I was talking to a faculty member when I was at TSU, and I made the comment about how valuable this education was to me and how valuable it was for me to experience being a minority. And she said, "Oh, darling," because we had a good relationship and she could call me "Oh, darling." She said, "Oh, darling, you have not experienced being a minority." And I kind of hem and hawed and I said, well, kind of. I mean, I kind of know what it is like. I come here every day. And that's where she stopped me. She said, "That's it, right there. You come here every day. And every day, you leave here. No matter how good-hearted and well-intentioned you might be," and I know you, Deb, I know that you are, "you're kind of like a tourist going to an immersive experience at a museum. You don't know what it's like to be a minority. The people you sit in class with, they might get to temporarily come to spaces like this where they can feel comfortable and safe, but they never truly get to leave being a minority in this country." She went on to explain to me how minority and majority aren't just terms that deal with numbers. They also reflect power. And that's just one of the many things I learned from people at TSU who cared enough to take the time to teach me.
Why are some historically black colleges no longer majority black? I'm Liz, the creator of POUP, a party game celebrating the legacy, culture, and traditions of black alumni. In my last video, I talk about 7 HBCUs that are no longer majority black in terms of their student population. But we didn't have enough time to get into the context, so I wanted to touch on this in a part 2. Let's start with Bluefield State College as an example, formerly known as Bluefield Colored Institute. Bluefield was founded in 1895 and is located in West Virginia. We all know that West Virginia is also known to be home to many mining communities. In 1954, there was Brown versus Board of Education. We all know that Brown versus Board of Education was very integral in giving black students specifically fair access to institutions of higher education. However, one thing to consider for HBCUs is they now had to compete against these well-resourced and funded institutions that systemically were given advantages to achieve this status. Technology is shifting and mining is becoming obsolete. So a lot of black college-bound students are going up north to pursue their college education. White veterans were coming back to the area after the Korean War. The GI Bill covers tuition costs for veterans, and so inexpensive schools, which were historically black colleges like Bluefield State, became more compelling for white veterans. One might say it was like the gentrification of schools, in a sense. By the mid-60s, Bluefield was already only half black. The school's first white president was selected in 1966, and afterwards there was a lot of strife over supporting the needs of Black faculty who had been there prior to this change. Tensions only got worse after the assassination of MLK in 1968. That Thanksgiving, a bomb tore through the gymnasium of the school, and in response, the president closed the dorms, which impacted Black students the most. Black students from out of state no longer had a place to live. Neighboring HBCUs like West Virginia State also had a shift in demographics, as well as the University of Maryland Eastern Shore, Lincoln University of Missouri, and St. Philip's College in San Antonio, Texas. Current events, a change in leadership, and so much more has led to the shift in demographics we see today, but Black alumni are making sure their history is not erased. Despite these changes, Bluefield State and other HBCUs named are still historically Black because the government cites that any institution that was predominantly Black before 1964 would still get that classification. Stay tuned for more content celebrating Black excellence, and remember, Up.
White people do not belong at HBCUs. They are infiltrating a safe space for Black people that was originally created so Black people could get a degree because they could not at these white institutions due to racism. And what makes it worse is that the HBCU will give that white person who said the N-word a scholarship so they can come there, but will not give the poor Black child who's in a single parent household a fucking scholarship and tells them that they can't come unless they find $40,000 worth of money out the crack of their ass.
Thank you so much for watching. I appreciate your time. Subscribe and share the video. Thank you. Until we meet again.